Senator Bigd.
Present.
Senator Abdi. Senator Abdi. Senator Gustafson. Senator Gustafson.
Here.
Senator Gustafson. Senator Gabbard.
Here.
I think Gustafson just said he's here.
Okay,
And I'm
perfect.
here.
Wonderful. Senator Bondra.
Hey.
Senator Alimo. Senator Alimo.
Here.
Senator Mendonça.
Present.
Senator Parte.
Here.
Senator Salim. Senator Salim. Senator Nemo. Senator Nemo. Senator Hawk. Senator Hawk. Senator Khan.
Here.
Senator Pham.
Here.
Senator El-Sadi.
Present.
Senator Albera.
Present.
Senator Osman.
Here.
Senator Stiff.
Here.
Senator Nelson.
Here.
Senator Sweeney.
Here.
Senator Wickman.
Here.
Senator Ruiz.
Here.
Senator Wheeler.
Here.
Senator Abbasi.
Present.
Senator Bejarano.
Here.
Senator Okawa.
Here.
Senator Flynn.
Here.
Senator Hopwood.
Here.
Senator Novak.
Howdy.
Senator Mecklenburg.
Here.
President Trini.
Here.
Vice President Maltari.
Here.
And myself, I'm just going to call for the senators one more time. Senator Salim. Senator Nemo. Senator Hawk. Okay.
She just joined.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Thank you. So next up today, we have some pretty important presentations. The first one is going to take a little bit longer than our normal presentation, but that is just a testament to how vital this information is. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Provost Cecil, and I believe I have Associate Provost Martinson as well. So you guys have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you a little bit today about our budget situation. Provost Martinson and I are going to talk a little bit about the situation that we're in, what we've done so far to address that situation, and kind of the process going forward from here through the rest of the semester that we will use to close a budget gap for the next biennium. So I think we'll start, if it's okay, I think I'd ask Associate Provost Martinson to start by just kind of laying out a little bit of where we are and some of the work that we've done so far to close the current biennium budget gap.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting us in to this meeting. Yeah, just to give a sense of what we're talking about when we're talking about a budget gap, sometimes you'll hear us refer to a structural deficit in our budget. And what we mean by structural is, or what we often call our base funding. So meaning not one-time events like COVID or one-time grants or other money like that, but the money that we expect to get on an ongoing basis. And the way we obviously, our budgets work, it's based largely off of two factors. There's the tuition that we collect, which I believe is somewhere around 65%, maybe it's 70% of our total budget. And the remaining is the allocation from the state, what the legislature funds. So those are the two things that largely we fund. As far as what our expenses are, universities, of course, are people-heavy industries compared to other industries. Our expenses are largely in salaries. They're 70 or 80% in the people that educate our students, obviously. So when we talk about a structural deficit, the structural part means that our base funding, that tuition and allocation, is not matching the expenses that we have going out the door, and that we expect that issue to continue. Again, not one-time issues, but that we need to close that gap. The tuition, obviously, you're familiar with, I'm sure. The allocation is done a little strange in this state, probably in a lot of states, but it's done on a biennial basis. So every 2 years, the legislature gets together and decides our funding. For the most part, when you see the system office make a request, what they're asking for is an addition to our base, meaning not just that one biennium, but that going forward, that would be the base that we would start with. They do some goofy tricks at times on front loading and back loading. Maybe some of you who are in student government, when you want to become government officials yourselves, we can talk that out. But it's funny math in some sense. But at any rate, for the current biennium, we did know that we had a $3 million structural deficit, and those come about a couple different ways. One is, contracts between the unions and the system tend to settle late. They settle way after the biennium starts. So we're told to predict certain amounts of increases in salary and inflationary costs, and they may or may not match reality. So that's one thing. Healthcare costs certainly were larger this time. That's probably the biggest factor than we were told to predict. That's the part that the employer pays. And another one is that we invested in some student success initiatives that we think will lead to greater support and greater retention of our students. And so I think that'll have a long-term positive effect, obviously, in our tuition, as well as for our students, of course. But those took some upfront investments. That took some money that had to be accounted for as well. So that's where the $3 million largely came from. Where we're at with addressing that for the current biennium, which ends in June, by the way, is that we went through what we call a BESI process. That's an early retirement incentive for faculty and staff, but largely faculty, in which we give them a bit of an incentive payout, and then usually we're not going to replace them, and that's how we get savings. When we do replace them, the idea is that a new faculty member would come in cheaper than somebody who had been here a long time. So we, through that process, through some administrative reorganization, and through some retirements that have happened since the BESI process or who weren't BESI eligible, and other kinds of vacancies, we've probably been able to realize somewhere around $2.8 million. So I would say largely we've met the $3 million structural deficit. Which is fine, except we're about to start a new biennium. And the new biennium is going to be based on a few things, but one of the things the legislature looks at is they watch these quarterly reports from the state on the economy. And the March 1st report that will be coming out in a few weeks is largely the one that they base their budgets off of. So we watched those reports rather carefully too. The September one that came out was not so good. It was a $4.7 billion deficit for the state. Based on some historical practices and how that might play out for us, that could be a $5 to $6 million, maybe $5 to $8 million hit to our campus. And so that's largely what started a lot of our conversations about reducing our budgets for the next biennium. The good news was that in December 1 or November, when that next one comes out, they had reduced it to about a $1.3 billion deficit. So the financial news was much better than they anticipated. The tax base had come in not as hit by COVID and other things. So if you do the math, that largely means that ours is probably reduced to somewhere to, I'll give it a wide range, I'd say $1.5 to $2.5 million. So let's say a $2 million structural deficit to address. In years past, we have tried some strategies like bridging that, just sort of finding some, scrounging up some dollars here or there, stop some temporary spending, equipment and such, and then wait for the next round of retirements. There's a couple reasons not to do that this time. One was that we have a new president coming in, and we've been asked by the system office to come in with a balanced budget, start that president off for success. And so start with a balanced budget. The other is we're trying to get away from this sort of constant method where we come in every 2 years and need to do more cuts. I think we need to, go through a process that really looks at our efficiencies and get us to a point where we can then be making more proactive investment decisions going forward and not be in this cycle of waiting for the legislature trying to catch up to the latest round of economic news. And I think we have a pretty good strategy and some new tools that we'll talk about in a minute on how we can address that. So I'm sure I missed a few things, but if the provost wants to supplement with that. Yeah.
Sure, I'll just add a couple of things sort of based on many of these kinds of meetings. We've had some questions that people tend to come at us with, include, asking, so what are you doing with administration? Have you made any cuts there? And the answer is yes. Last summer, we had 4 administrative positions that came open. We only had, at that time, we had 34 administrators on our campus. We had 4 come open and we didn't fill any of those. There was a vice president for strategic partnerships, an associate vice president for research and dean of grad studies, a dean of extended ed, and a director position in strategic partnerships. All of those are administrator positions, and we eliminated all of them. We did create 1 new administrator to sort of take on a lot of that. Terry's here. Terry Wallace took that on. 1 new administrator that took on a bunch of that portfolio. But we did, end up with 31 excluded administrators, down from 34. So 10% decrease there and some significant savings. Another question that people often ask is about enrollment growth. Well, we grew, so that helps, and it absolutely does. It's certainly, we're in an enviable position in the region, really nationally, as a university that grew in the fall and has held pretty steady in the spring, which is wonderful news for us. But the reality is we grew some, but not enough to really make the full difference. Over the course of the last 6 or 7 years, we'd lost, 500, 600, 700 student annual FYEs, we call them full year equivalent students over that time. And we gained last fall about 130. So we still are kind of down overall in enrollment. You put all of that together and that kind of puts us in this situation. So the question is, what are we doing about it? Brian outlined what we did to sort of solve this current biennium problem, but we have the next biennium problem that we need to solve, and that's really where all of our work is focused right now. So a couple of things that I can share there. We've created some data dashboards. We have a lot of great data here, thanks to the work of Vice President Akey's division. We have access to a ton of great data, and we sort of package that up in a way that we think has the key data points that'll help academic programs and faculty to make some decisions and help us make some decisions as we move forward. That data was data that everybody was pretty familiar with, except for a couple of data points that we added based on a whole lot of work. And those data points get at what we're talking, or what we're referring to as financial viability at the program and department level. And I think, Brian, can you just give like a 1-minute explanation of what those are?
Yeah, absolutely. We've struggled in years past to be able to give a very good accounting of what our programs cost. And part of that has to do with some limitations of our software or our accounting practices. And just the fact, the nature of a university, it's really hard to pull apart all these services. A lot go into educating a student, from the library and counseling center to the actual academic program. So the really brief version of what we've done is we've looked at 2 different metrics. You can sort of think of it as think of it this way. One metric is what it costs to offer the courses within a department as a whole, in terms of what kind of revenue those courses would generate, minus what the expenses are to run, with some overhead calculations thrown in. The other point of view is the student point of view. And I really like this point of view myself, but it basically asks, what was the path of that of the student? What did it cost to educate that student, and what versus what was generated in terms of tuition and allocation? So again, what is that student path, and what were all the services needed for them, and the costs that went into that? And then we can say for every major on campus, per major that you have, this is how the finances look. As you might expect, a nursing student costs a different amount to educate than a history major or something, and so that allows us to actually to have greater knowledge of what that is.
So that's a start, right? So we have some data. We're able to look at that data and understand a little bit what's going on in a program or a department. Brian has referred to it as sort of like a blood test. It doesn't actually diagnose what's happening, but it sort of points us where to look. And we start with that data, but it doesn't determine anything on its own. In this process, we're trying to have a lot of other information that we're overlaying over top of that data. So you think of the data as a foundation, and then there are various overlays that we put over that, and what shows through is really where we need to look more closely. Those overlays include things like Equity 2030. As we make cuts, we don't want to damage our efforts around equity. It includes contribution to things like our international students' success. We don't want to hurt anything that's related to that. General student success is another one. Job outlook is another overlay that we're considering in this. So there's a whole lot of other stuff that goes into this as we consider this. It's both art and science. You start with the science of the data, and then you try to understand what's going on in a broader sense through conversations. And really, that's the work that we've been engaged in the most. We've held a whole lot of different small group conversations, kind of like this one, where we've talked to about 250 people on campus, mostly faculty and staff at this point, about, sort of understanding what's going on in your program. What things do we need to consider as we do this work? What contributions may we not know about that we should know about as we do this? And so we're trying to put together a picture and understand this in a way that we can set our campus up to be successful in the future. Let me be clear, though. I mean, we're making cuts. When you make cuts, you're reducing your capability on your campus. There's no, right sizing business speak that go away. That's reality. And we understand that, but we want to make the smartest choices that we possibly can to help our students succeed and help to set up our institution a more financially sustainable future. So it's a really complicated process and question, and we've been having a lot of these meetings. So a couple of things to keep in mind about the timeline, and then we'll certainly take questions. March 1st, Brian mentioned, is a pretty important date here. We put that data out to everyone, to the chairs so far, and then we'll look to a broader campus community soon, once we've vetted it and make sure it's right. March 1st comes along and we get the next state revenue projection, which will help us understand what's going on and set targets. However, that doesn't address things like tuition. We don't know what the legislature is going to do with tuition. We don't know. There are just so many unknowns out there that we're essentially going to have to make our best estimate of where our target might end up being. And then March 4th, the next series of meet and confers, we meet and confer with each of our bargaining units plus student government every month, and that's the next one's March 4th. We'll have to provide a draft plan to the campus. And what we told the meet and confers at the last meeting is the reality of this and the of this situation. We do have to consider retrenchment, which is another word for layoffs on our campus, in order to meet that $1.5 to $2.5 million goal or $1 million target that we need to meet. So March 4th would be a big date that we'd have to share some more specifics about what we're going to have to do. But it'll be a draft plan, and we won't have this settled probably until early May would be my guess, that we would have a better sense. And in between now and then, we're going to continue to have these meetings. We're going to continue to make sure our data makes sense. We're going to continue to add to these overlays that I mentioned so that we have the smartest approach going forward and we don't make any mistakes. I'll just give you an example of a mistake that almost happened on this campus 10 years ago when we did similar work. The aviation program was on the block to be cut. And for those of you who may not know that, it wasn't, thank goodness, because now we have 600 or so majors in aviation. We don't want to make a mistake. We want to set our campus up to be as successful as possible. We want to make sure that students have the ability to achieve their goals. But it's a really complex process that we're trying to do in the smartest and most consultative way that we possibly can. So that's kind of where we are. The next big date probably to look for would be that March 4th date, and see where we are at that point. And then moving forward from there, having something all wrapped up by the end of May so we can implement it by June 30th. So the new president coming on July 1st will start with a balanced budget. So that's kind of where we are, and we'd be happy to take any questions that anybody might have.
Wonderful. I can open the floor up for questions at this point. Are there any questions for the provost or associate provost? Any questions? That was a lot of information thrown at us. I wonder,
I
no
have-
follow-ups? Okay, Senator Steph.
Yeah, so is there a specific route that you can get like input from students, or is there a channel that you are looking to get input from students on some of these?
Absolutely. So a couple of things there. We have a website that we can share that has more information, but it also includes a specific email address for feedback on this, and it's academicbudget@mnsu.edu. People can certainly share their feedback there. They can email me directly, matt.cecil@mnsu.edu. We're open to more meetings if you want us to come back, or if you have a small group that you'd like to have us come back and talk a little bit more about this. Absolutely. We want this to be a conversation. We understand that there's a lot of anxiety around budget cut, and we want to give people a chance to get in front of the decision makers and help us to do a better job so we don't make any mistakes. Thank you.
Wonderful. Were there any other questions? Any other questions? Senator Novak.
I know that you guys are like very early in the stages of this, and we're just kind of like laying out how you might start to look at what programs might be on the chopping blocks and like what methodology. But at this point in time, have there been any specific programs that have come to mind that might potentially end up on that chopping block?
We haven't made any decisions. I want to be clear, though, that we're not looking at cutting any entire programs. Just the way the process works here through the unionized context, we just aren't really, that's not a way to go about this. We have to sort of look, place by place in each really department by department and see where we might go for budget cuts. So I think you can rest assured that while we always look at academic programs and make sure they're successful, and we did some last year that don't really have any students in them, that's not really how we go about doing this budget cutting.
Wonderful. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, thank you so much, Provost Cecil and Associate Provost Martinson, for coming in and speaking with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up on our agenda, we have Destiny Cherry talking about scholarships in the month of February.
Are you able to give me access to share my screen for the presentation?
Yes, I can. Should be good to go.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. My name is Destiny, and I'm the graduate assistant in the Office of Student Affairs. I was actually on student government last year, so I'm excited to see some familiar faces. But today I'm going to be talking about Scholarship Finder, which is our university's scholarship opportunity website. So that being said, can everyone raise their hands if they've used Scholarship Finder before? I'm just curious to see. Okay, I am seeing a couple hands. Love that. Thank you. I'm glad to see that a couple of people have. Scholarship Finder is this really great tool that our university has. It's kind of this one-stop shop for all of the scholarships we have on campus. And we're really fortunate to have a lot of generous donors who have donated to these scholarships. And just having it on one website makes it super easy, so you don't have to apply to a million different scholarship applications and answer the same questions over and over again. They're based on a lot of different criteria. So if you are worried that maybe your GPA isn't as high as you want it to be right now, or your volunteering hours aren't as high as you'd like with COVID, don't worry. There's a lot of scholarships based on other things too. So like your major, interest, background, and then additionally your GPA, volunteering, and a couple of other things as well. Just to give you a timeline of scholarships on campus, this is the month of applying for scholarships, so the deadline for them is February 28th, or the end of the month. We definitely recommend applying early to scholarships, just because certain colleges or certain applications might require you to ask for references and recommendations, or maybe to upload documentation of volunteer hours. And then once you have applied in the month of March, university review committees will look at those applications and they will review them. And then in April, the word notifications will go out to students through their MAV mail. I know students get a lot of emails that way, but if you are applying for scholarships, just please be on the lookout for those in the month of April. You'll get information in that email that tells you about the payment award, and it'll also give you information from the donor in case you do want to send a thank you note, and it will just explain everything that you need to know about it. And then in August or January, depending on the scholarship, that payment will go directly into your e-services account. But like I said, all of those details are in the award letter. I have a quick video that I'm going to share for you. Oh. Maybe, hang on one second. Okay, and if the volume is super loud or not loud enough, someone holler at me, please.
Welcome to Scholarship Finder at Minnesota State University, Mankato, your home for all scholarship opportunities.
We don't see it.
As a student, we encourage you.
Thank you. I thought I had switched it, I guess not. Okay, now can you see it?
Not yet. It still shows Scholarship Finder.
Is
Oh yeah,
it-
we see it. We see it. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for pointing that out. Still kind of getting the hang of presenting over Zoom.
Welcome to Scholarship Finder at Minnesota State University, Mankato, your home for all scholarship opportunities. As a student, we encourage you to apply for scholarships during the month of February. You can find this website at www.mnsu.edu/scholarship finder. At this website, you'll sign in with your star ID and password. Once you sign in, you'll be prompted to complete a general application. It'll say drafted up here if this is your first time logged in, and submitted once you've submitted it successfully. The general application includes basic scholarship questions that will be used for many different scholarships here at the university. Once you've answered all the questions and signed and initialed your responses, you can click on Finish and Submit at the bottom of the application or Save. Once you've finished, you can always go log back in and update your application at any time. Once you've completed the general application, you can access other scholarship opportunities under scholarships and ours. Please take time to review the different requirements for each unique scholarship. Every student will be matched to different scholarship opportunities based on your major, your GPA, your year in school, and many other factors. To complete any of these applications, simply click on the Apply button to start a new application, or you may log in at any time to complete an application. Within each unique scholarship opportunity, you want to make sure to complete the supplemental questions here. Answer them all completely. You can upload a letter of recommendation very easily. And then again, click Finish and Submit or update your application to move on. We encourage you to complete applications during the month of February to apply for all scholarships for the next academic year. Good luck, Mavericks.
Okay, can you see my PowerPoint presentation now? Yes.
No, not yet.
No? Oh, this wasn't giving me problems earlier.
Yes.
Now we can.
Okay, thank you so much. Like I said, that was just a brief overview of Scholarship Finder. We definitely recommend logging in and kind of playing around with it to get the hang of it. We do get a few frequently asked questions I did want to cover while I'm here. So the first being, who can apply for scholarships, and what if I don't think I qualify for any? I'm here to tell you any Minnesota State Mankato student can apply for the scholarships that are on Scholarship Finder. And if you don't think you qualify, I'd highly, highly recommend filling out the general application, even if you don't think you do, because once you fill that out, One of the unique things about Scholarship Finder is that it will recommend scholarships for you based on the things that you filled out. So even if you don't think you qualify, there might be scholarships out there that you do qualify for and you just didn't know about. Additionally, what opportunities are out there for you? We have hundreds of scholarships that are available this year, and from year to year, the university awards almost $2 million in scholarships. So there's lots of opportunities out there for you based on a wide range of criteria, like I mentioned. Additionally, I mentioned earlier that you might need references to apply. We find that this is pretty common in CSET applications. So if you're a student for the College of Science, Engineering, and Technology, but for many of the other colleges, you don't need them. We still would recommend double checking that though, so you can give your reference enough time to fill out the application form. Additionally, how often should I update my application? Another cool feature of Scholarship Finder is that it keeps your information from year to year. So if you did apply for something last year or even the year before, it should still have that information in the system. We do recommend that you update it like you would a resume though. So if you have had another job within the last year, or you've gotten more volunteer hours, or you need to change the dates on some things, we recommend that you go in and change that. And then additionally, after you're in your like second or third year of school here, we recommend starting to take off those things you had in high school and keeping more relevant information. A few other frequently asked questions we get is, why is there a notification on top of my applications? You might see like a little red dot, and that just means that you haven't completed part of an application. So this is a nice feature. You will be aware if you haven't finished an application, so you don't have to worry if you missed something. And like I said, it'll just be a little red dot that pops up on top of my applications. Additionally, what colleges have college-wide scholarship applications? There are 3 in particular: CSET, the College of Business, and the College of Education. All have it where if you submit an application, it will apply to all of the scholarships underneath that college, which just makes it super easy and not very time consuming. Additionally, what if you want to change something on your application? We mentioned in the video that you are able to go in and make changes, but you can only do this up until the deadline of the application. So just make sure you're looking out for that deadline. Like I said, though, February is kind of the month of scholarships. So February 28th is the date you want to keep in your head. And then if you have any questions that I can't answer today or you think of later, we have an email. It's scholarships@mnsu.edu that you can send questions to. And I was planning on sending this presentation to someone on student government, and you guys can spread it around so you can have the information. And then that being said, does anyone have questions right now that I can answer?
Okay, I will open the floor up for questions. President Trenny would be a good person to send that to, and he can upload it to Teams. Let's see, Senator Nelson.
I just had a quick question. So if we're in our final semester at MSU, are we still able to apply for these scholarships and put them towards graduate programs at other schools?
Oh, that's a great question. This Scholarship Finder website is only for Minnesota State Mankato. So if you're going to graduate here, the answer might be a little different, but it won't work for like other schools. It's just for ours. There are many applications on there though that are awarded to graduate students. So there's like one for my program in counseling and student. And then there's also one I know in social work for Masters of Social Work students, because I just gave a presentation to them last night. So if you're going to another school, probably not, but if here, you should definitely check it out. Good question.
Wonderful. Next I have Senator El-Sadi.
So my question is, let's say I did apply for a scholarship. Will this scholarship appear on the same page, like the same page next alongside the other scholarships if I did apply to it?
I believe it records all the scholarships that you have applied for. So you can apply to like multiple ones, and I think it should all be listed there under your like profile.
Okay, so but it's not gonna like as long as I applied to the scholarship, it's gonna go away from my the opportunities for me.
I guess I'm not following the question.
Like
Are you able to ask in a slightly different way?
So like when you go to apply for a scholarship on the first page, let's say I hit apply and I wrote the requirements for the scholarship, will it still appear on that same page?
Okay, so change. It should, if you click on it, it should say that you have applied for the scholarship. And then I think if you go underneath your profile, it will list all of the ones that you have applied for. So it should look a little different than the ones you haven't applied for.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Any other questions?
I did see in the chat that someone asked if I can send a link for the video. I would be happy to do that before I leave today.
All right, but no other questions. We're going to go ahead and move on. Thank you so much, Destiny, for coming in today and talking to us
Thank you
about
so much
this.
for having me. Have a good rest of your meeting.
Thank you. So next up on our agenda, I have Max Maleyman from The Reporter. So Max, you can take it away.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. I'm Max. I'm as Kara. I can never remember if it's Kara or Kara. I'm sorry.
Kara, but you're all good.
Kara, okay, I had it the right way the first time. Well, I'm from the MNSU Reporter. I'm the editor-in-chief this year. Little backstory on me: I started as an ad rep, and then I moved into the social media, and then I got elected into the editor-in-chief position by the newspaper board. I just wanted to come talk about kind of what we do at the newspaper and how everything kind of runs here and what our kind of goals are for long term. I'm going to start off with what we started with last semester because I'm really proud of what we've done so far this year. We've really increased the quality of stories that we've worked on, and in my perspective, and we've done that with a lot of help from a consultant we brought on, Rob Murray, who was a writer at the Free Press for over 20 years. We've really expanded our design efforts. You know, long story short, if you looked at this, the newspaper last year, it would basically look pretty much the same issue to issue. So, but versus this year, it's kind of, our front page changes. We have a lot of new design techniques that we're implementing and we're really excited about because it makes the newspaper look a lot better, in my opinion. We're also just reporting on more what we view as more hard-hitting pieces. You know, we were at when Trump was here in Mankato. We were at the protests over the summer after George Floyd was killed, and you know, and we even had people up in the cities during the inauguration just in case something broke out. You know, we're ready and we're really working on trying to expand the type of story we reach out to. We're also really realigning with, you know, focusing in on students and student life at MNSU. You know, we're focusing a lot on student government, what you guys do. We have a story at least once a week about something you guys are up to. We cover your guys' meetings. Bailey's in the article, and a writer of mine is actually in the meeting right now writing about this. You know, and we're also just focusing on student life. Is like, this is a crazy year. We have the election, we have COVID, and it's a lot of information to kind of portray long-term, even though the paper comes out for, you know, once a week or rather twice a week, but you know, it only stays out there for 2 days. We have those archives forever, and it's really interesting to kind of look back. You know, we've been around since 1926, so we can see what people were doing whenever JFK was shot, you know, and in MSU. So it's really exciting to know that we're kind of documenting what's going on right now too. But you know, going forward, we're following things that are still happening. You know, we're following the testing sites. Our election issue had details on almost, if not all, the elections that students at MNSU could vote for. You know, president all the way down to city council stuff. And we're committed to continue to follow stuff like that. You know, especially this semester, we have going on. We have vaccine rollouts slowly coming. We have the budget issues that are being brought up all the time. We have the scooters. And of course, the biggest one, the presidential search for our university, is what we're covering. So a little breakdown of how the reporter works. We have two kind of sections of the office. We have the ad sales, and then we have the editorial. Obviously, I'm more in the editorial side, writing stories, assigning stories to our writers, making sure everything, you know, just getting everything in the paper, designing how it looks, the content basically of how what the newspaper looks like. And then the advertising sales is obviously the people who make us money. They're the ones who go out to the ad reps go out to local businesses. They talk to a bunch of local people. I'm seeing comments about the scooters, but about local, you know, just basically trying to get people in the local businesses to run with us, whether it's in the regular issue or it's in the coupon book. We do those, and also we have supplementals. Like tomorrow we have our student choice awards coming out. So basically students voted on their favorite place in town, and we have a write-up on each of those businesses. So going forward, my kind of goal, I want to talk about kind of the vision of what the reporter is looking for going forward. Obviously, I'm going to start with, there's always kind of been some sort of rivalry between the reporter and student government. It's, whether it started from that some writer or editor published some sort of scathing critique on the Senate, or the Senate cutting funding or back and forth. There's always been some sort of strained relationship between the two. Luckily, this year we've kind of been, I feel a lot better about that, being more, I think both sides, we've just been more in communication. I've worked really hard to try to keep a really healthy relationship. So, because ultimately we're not on opposing sides. We're both just different ways for students to get out there. And, you guys represent, we inform. So we're just two sides of a different coin. So what is the goal of the reporter? It's kind of twofold. One, obviously, to just keep publishing our print newspaper twice a week. We want to continue to put out good content and make that that is a huge priority, and just continue to stay up to date with journalistic practices as well as, multimedia efforts. But two, and this is kind of where we're getting into more recently, is being more of an educational tool for those working at the reporter. One huge thing that everyone has said when they finish working at the reporter is that, a lot of times the experience you get working here is better than a lot of the classes you take. And we really take that to heart. I mean, I echo that with what some of the classes I'm taking. The experience, whether it's from the editorial side, writing stories, talking to people of interest, digging for the right story, or getting the photo, or if it's advertising, going out and talking to all those businesses, cold calling, you're actually able to get that level of like 1 to 4 years experience that all the applications ask for before you get right as you get out of college. And so what I want to do is really expand into the experiential education. That's what I'm really focusing on this year, is bringing in more, making that more of a priority, is educating those that are working here to be better at, journalism, advertising, all these sort of different level, whether it's business, whether it's editors, photography, all of these different things. And one cool way that we've talked about, and it's in the works right now, is being a writer at the reporter eligible for a college credit, or some class credits. And that's something that's I think that's going to happen. It's being in the works right now. I don't know exactly where it's at right now. But how do we stay accountable for all this? Because obviously every year it's a new editor, editor-in-chief, and they have a new vision, and everything changes to some extent. What we're doing right now, which is something we haven't done before, and this is something that Dr. Jones kind of put us on, is a self-study, which is just an in-depth analysis of kind of, deeply analyze how our college media publication is supposed to function. So, this is analyzing everything from, diversity, hiring practices, just journalistic practices, and like continuously assessing how we can be better and what we're doing and what we do better. And this document is kind of going to work as the guidelines for how the ship should be sailed, moving forward. And so I'm really excited about having that document, because it's going to kind of set the precedent for how long-term we want to continue into the world of journalism, multimedia, and that sort of thing. And lastly, the hot button-ish kind of thing is budget. Obviously, I don't really have exact numbers right now, but to go back to the beginning of the reporter, we basically, when we started, obviously it was in 1926, and everybody was funding, it was funded by advertising, because that's the only place people advertised, was the newspaper. And as time has gone on, we've had to have more of our funding come from the university, and at this point we're in kind of a sizable amount of debt. Now we're working on cutting our spending in a lot of ways, as far as how we employ our people, as well as the for one example, we have our advertising representatives that we changed a couple of years ago how we pay them. I change it back going forward. Basically, long story short, we're making them more based on commission rather than hourly, which is how it's been recently, and that's around the time things got tough with our budget. But other things included in working on kind of saving more money. But to conclude, I kind of want to just, ask student government to consider is that, we're one of the only organizations that are considered a failing business. And it obviously looks like that when you look at our budget. But when ultimately what we want to kind of be looked at is an important institution at the university that it's a great educational tool and is also able to make some money on advertisement as well. So with that, I'm open to any questions as well.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any questions? I see Senator El-Sadi. Is your hand still up from before? Or do you have a question?
I actually do have a question.
Perfect, go ahead.
Why do you classify the reporter as a failing business?
Well, as time has gone on, we've just had we have the basically it's kind of been how we've been viewed through time, because we're one of the only institutions on campus that can make money, and so we're kind of there's this implicit expectation that we should be making all the money, and that if we don't make that money back, that we're not doing our job correctly. And I want to just kind of turn the argument into being looked at as a opportunity for education, and when it comes to journalism and all of this stuff, photography at business, and know that we are benefiting the university, and just be viewed that way rather than be viewed as the one thing that's failing on campus. So
Yeah, because I agree with you.
Oh, sorry, Senator El-Sadi, did you have a follow-up?
Yes, I did, but after Senator Nemo, she can speak and I can.
Okay, Senator Nemo.
All right, thank you. So I just want to ask a question. You guys probably thought about this at the reporters, but have you guys thought about putting out a survey to see how many people read the newspaper, the printed ones, and how much you would save if you print? Because no one is on campus basically right now, and I don't know if the staff and faculty members pick up the newspapers, but I don't see students picking up the newspapers. So how much you would save from printing out newspapers every week and saving the planet as well? So have you guys looked into that in your budget?
Absolutely. Sorry to interrupt you. That is a great question. We have a pickup rate. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head what the pickup rate is. I know last year we were averaging at least around 70% pickup rate for every issue. I don't know exactly what it is this year. We've been really supplementing on-campus stuff by dropping our newspaper off on off-campus residence locations. Like we've done basically every apartment complex where we dropped it off. We've dropped off 2 issues per unit. We've done Highland, we've done Jacob Heights, we've done Summit multiple times. We've been really working on distribution this year as well, because you're right, we haven't had a lot of people on campus. So we're working on different ways. We're bringing, I want to say we're bringing tomorrow's issue to Live Active. We're bringing it to an apartment for tomorrow's issue. I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Senator El-Sadi.
So yeah, just a follow-up, because I do understand the significance of the reporter's presence on campus. What do you think is like missing in this whole process of like getting the reporter out of this failing state?
Well, a big thing is kind of the way our you're asking what is missing as far as, I mean, funding wise. Obviously, we've been continuously cut, and that's something that obviously that's something that will always be brought up. We've been cut continuously, and then what happens is that every editor comes in with basically a new budget issue where they have to completely solve the have to worry about basically getting enough funding for the following year to even stay afloat. And that's a really tough thing, because then the editor in my position and the people every year before me has been focused on that rather than putting out multiple new multimedia, making a new podcast, hiring a podcast editor or something like that. So innovation wise, we're hampered by worrying about the budget, if that makes sense. So
the budget and the funding is a major issue in the reporter.
I'm sorry, what was that?
So budgeting and funding is a major issue that you guys are facing.
Yes, yes, it has been.
Thank you. President Trenny.
Yes, thanks, Max, for coming. Just to give a little backstory as well to everyone, when he means they've been cut, they have been cut. Every year, Senate, since I was a senator and before, really looks at the reporter with a magnifying glass when they really don't look at any other areas with a magnifying glass. What I mean specifically is we pick apart the small things that they could do differently or whatever. But they are trying this year, and the consultant's one of them. Our relationship, Max and I have a great relationship as well this year. So they're really trying to be different, and they have a really good vision for the future. So I'm supportive of it. Max is doing a great job in what he's doing, and I know going forward, I have confidence in the reporter, and I think he is right. One thing we've been talking about with the provost and academic affairs is how can we get people more real world experience in the classroom, because that is a problem right now, right? I'm job hunting and my friends are job hunting. We don't have the experience that these jobs are asking for, but in Max's position and the many people that work at the reporter, they're getting that experience outside of the classroom. So yep, I'm of them, and I appreciate Max for coming as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Senator Vondra.
Hi there. So a little while ago, you just mentioned you monitor pickup rates.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that?
So when the printer distributes it, they do, I think it's like once every few weeks. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but once every few weeks, they count how many are left whenever they bring the new issue. So they do a count right there, and then they, obviously they calculate the difference based off of that.
Thank you. Senator Ruiz.
A clarification question. Does MSU have a journalism program?
Yes, I believe yes they do. It's not huge, but it is. We kind of focus more whenever we go into hiring in into the mass communication area. The mass media, mass communication is kind of where we get a lot of our writers and photographers and that sort of thing.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. Senator Nelson.
With looking at places where you guys are able to save money, have you guys ever considered, even from an eco standpoint, moving to a solely online distribution versus printing copies that may never be picked up?
We have a big thing with that is advertising. There is not a lot of success online advertising and digital media. We've tried it in the years past, and just a lot of people like having it actually printed. That's where most of our advertising revenue comes from online. And so if we lose the print revenue, we would basically have to cut our writing staff to just a couple editors. We always joke that, the joke whenever we kept getting cut from student government is it's going to end up being one guy in a room in 10 years, and that's not what the point of the report is. The point of the report is to be an educational location for all these writers, all of these photographers, editors, advertising sales representatives. And if we do that, which is, we would save money. But you have to ask, is it the point of the reporter to save money, to make money? Or is it to create those out of class experiences? And that's what I'm trying to focus in on, is creating an environment where those out of class experiences can happen.
President Trenny.
No.
Sorry, I had you down. Senator Vondra, did you have a follow-up? Saw your hand go back up.
I did not know.
Okay. Was there anyone else then? Any other questions? Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Max, for coming in and speaking to us today.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Wonderful. So next we're going to go ahead and move on to open forum. Is there anyone here for open forum? Martin J. Caruso.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to give a quick Maverick Adventures update. So this week we opened up our Behind the Lens outdoor photo contest for submissions. We've had a really great response from the students for this particular event, and we already have several submissions in. Submissions are going to be accepted until March 15th. There's several categories that students can submit their photos to, and we have 3 really great sponsors that have signed on. Alpine Start, GSI Outdoors, and Spikeball have all sent prizes that are going to go to the winners of the categories. I wanted to talk about another program that we have coming up, and it's a speaker series that we're going to be sponsoring called the Mankato Adventure Speaker Series. We're going to be having members of the Mankato community who have great stories to tell, talk about adventures that they've had that have had an impact on their life. Our first one is going to be February 24th, and that speaker is going to be Kevin Langton. He's a member of the community, and he has written a book called Superior, and he has finished the Superior 100, the Superior Trail 100 run multiple times, so he's going to be talking about those experiences. So anyway, thanks for letting me come on today and talk a little bit about that, and I'll be back with more updates in the future. Thanks.
Wonderful. Were there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? See none. Thank you. Is there anyone else for open forum? Anyone else? No? Okay, then we are going to go ahead and move on. Next up is the approval of the consent agenda, but seeing as there's nothing on the approval of the consent agenda, I'm going to go ahead and skip that and head straight into officer reports. President Trenny, you have the floor.
You know, you would think that after a year or half a semester, I would still be used to going first, but I'm not. That always throws me off. One, as the provost mentioned earlier at the earlier this meeting, we had meeting confer last Thursday, and we had most of our coordinators and a couple senators attend. Again, we talked a lot about university budget, tuition increase, potential increase, presidential search. I think those are the safety things we brought up before. Next one will be March 4th, and I will again email everyone again to see if anyone wants to come. And I highly encourage you, if you haven't gone, to go. It's a great way to not only meet President Downport but his cabinet and really hear what, like, from their end, what's going on behind the scenes of things, and really get your voice in that way as well. Students United is having their Senate Connections event this Friday, 12 to 1:30, and the topic this month is student basic needs. So that's housing insecurity, food insecurity, SICARA. I shoot up. So again, if you want to go meet other senates, you can talk to professional staff at Students United, really kind of brainstorm ways to address student needs on a university-wide level. That'll be, again, this Friday, 12 to 1:30, and I can email the Zoom link for that as well, and encourage everyone to attend if you haven't. It should count as office hours as well. Number 2, the presidential finalists, the open forums for this week. Thank you. And I missed one, but I know 2 senators specifically that went, Senator Sweeney and Senator Nemo, Quadri, yeah. So those 2 came, and I appreciate you guys giving your feedback and really being a part of the process. The next level of this would be the chancellor will hire, and we'll know more March, I believe. I mentioned, and we've been posting a lot about it, is the Barnes & Noble scholarship. Again, please apply to that. We're giving 10 $500 scholarships out for people involved in anything, really, like FSL, RHA, community councils, student government counts. So again, please do that as well. The bookstore committee is meeting this Friday, 1:30 to 12:30. Or that didn't make sense. 12:30 to 1:30. I wrote it backwards. That does overlap with the Student Basic Needs Connection event, but I'll be there, and I know Senator Sweeney will be there as well. But we need a couple more people if you're interested about the bookstore. So that's anything from textbook rental, Maverick textbook, Maverick textbook reserve program, but really just meeting the people at the bookstore and talking about bookstore issues. Again, that's this Friday, 12:30 to 1:30. Second to last, the President's Commission on Diversity is having an open listening session February 16th, 4 p.m. I will forward that out to Senate as well. I don't know if anyone else got that, but I got it forwarded to me. They're really trying to hear from people just about, issues they see in the city and how they can help address them, and really listening to our voices as a community and student body. So I encourage senators to go to that as well. That's very important. And then, yes, and then the last thing I was going to mention is Students United committees. I emailed out as well earlier this week. Our committees for Students United, again, those committees, they don't deal with MSU Mankato specifically. They deal with anything system, state, and federal. So if you have a great idea to address something on a system level, for like student basic needs or funding, for example, it's a great way to get your voice heard and really not only get to know other people, but really fine tune your ideas into a higher level than MSU Mankato specifically. So refer to that email that I sent out on Monday or Tuesday, and then let me know if you are interested in joining any of the committees. We really do need more people, and if you're really interested in really in student advocacy, I encourage you to do that as well. And Mark corrected me. It is 11:30 to 12:30. Thanks, Mark. I had that wrong for the bookstore meeting. I had that wrong. Sorry. And for that, I yield. Any questions?
Wonderful. Any questions for President Trenny? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, Vice President Maltari.
Hello, everyone. I have a lot for this week, but I've been reviewing grants with President's Commission on Status of Women for people who might be interested in researches. And yeah, Sandy Schoenberg and Dr. Maria Bakvea, along with the GA Alina, have been serving on that. I've been reviewing grants with them. And then in President Training, I think you forgot to mention this, followed up on the student health bill with Dr. Carrie Mulch and Dr. Wendy Shu from the health services. And I think the outcome seems pretty good. They will be talking about it more in future further meetings. Other than this, I attended the Academic Affairs Council on the system level. So the goal area 7 things I talk about are like the sub of Academic Affairs Council, if you don't know. And they're mainly focusing on transfer curriculums. And transfer governance team is in charge and has been current, and it has been reviewed and will be edited. So what they're trying to do is just editing and trying to figure out how can all the goal areas and all the programs address social justice and anti-racism. So that is something I've been working on the systems level with them. And other than this, I did not get any responses for going to the WOW zone, so I believe we are not going for volunteering. And if anybody is interested in joining President's Commission on Status of Women, please let myself or President Trenny know, because they are still looking for more people, I believe. And with that, I yield.
Wonderful. Any questions for Vice President Maltari? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and move on to mine. I just have two quick things. Office hours are due this Friday. Make sure you get them turned in. I didn't see as many submissions last time, so the expectation has been set that they will be turned in this Friday. And the only other thing I have is we are blessed to have back-to-back time with Dean Rutherford. So if you want to add anything in this week, go ahead.
I was a substitute last week. This was
That's true.
my assigned week. The only thing I wanted to draw to your attention, because there's so few people on campus, and we don't have a confirmation of our keynote speaker, but the Health and Biomedical Sciences Summit will take place virtually March 24th. And we have a great lineup of to address the topic of social determinants of health and the social injustices within those social determinants of health. So we're really exciting. We have a really big name keynote speaker that I can't say his name until we get the signed contract. But his session will be moderated by Angela Davis from Minnesota Public Radio. She'll do the moderating of that session, and then it will air on Minnesota Public Radio later that day. So we're really excited because the university will get credit for having had that speaker. After that, we'll have lightning rounds of of regional experts within those social determinants of health, and then on-demand sessions of faculty and student presentations. It's free. It's free to the public, but again, March 24th, put that on your calendars, and hope to see many of you there. If you're a working professional, because there are some here, and you need CEUs, you do have to pay $25 to get your certified continuing ed units, but otherwise it is free to the public, and we really want students to attend. So since since I won't be back with you, I decided last week was Dean Haar's Dean of the Day, so I didn't want to announce it last week, but this is my Dean of the Day, so I did want to announce that, and hope to see many of you at that event. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That's so exciting. Would you be able to put a link in the chat for, I don't know, if you have like a website or something that talks a little bit about that?
I do, but I don't handle that part of it. So
That's okay.
I'll get it to either you or President Trenny or Vice President Arnaby.
Perfect. And then we'll send that out.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Any questions for me or Dean Rutherford? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go ahead on. We have a bunch of senator reports today, so let's get things started with Senator Bigg.
Hi everyone, I'm Senator Bigg, and I am hi Dean Rutherford, and I'm one of the senators for the College of Allied Health and Nursing, and I'm just here with a quick few exciting announcements as we start the year. I'm sure, as many of you know, we welcome social work into the College of Allied Health and Nursing, and I'm so happy they've joined us. I love that they're there. So that's super exciting. And then we had our first advisory board meeting a couple of weeks ago to kick off the year. And then I finally heard from my that starting fall 2021, we'll officially have an American Sign Language certificate, which is incredible. There have been so many people working on that for such a long time. So shout out to all the adjunct professors and all the program heads that have been pushing for that. I really appreciate it. So the requirements are all 4 levels of sign language, and then you have to take a class with Renee Shellum, our audiologist, and it's called Dimensions of Deafness. So all great things, and so super excited for that. Let me check my notes quick. And then, as usual, you know me, I'm excited for budget season. I'm excited for what's ahead. I know it's a tough year, but I love it. So looking forward to that. And then I'm still looking for project to work on specifically for me and the College of Allied Health and Nursing. But just wanted to announce those few things, and I'm just looking forward to the rest of the semester. So thank you so much. I yield.
Thank you. Were there any questions for Senator Bigg? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, Senator Alimo. Senator Alimo, you're muted.
Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are all doing well. So when it comes to office report, Manav and I have been working together for a majority of our projects. And, you know, one of the big things that we were able to do was we were able to conduct a survey. We were able to send that out to the students. And for us, we feel as if that's a real big thing, because that allows us to analyze that data and allows us to move on forward and just find ways to help our students out. But one of the cool things that Manav and I were able to do in the fall was we went ahead and we created a proposal. We created a whole PowerPoint and everything. We proposed to the faculty pretty much Zoom etiquette. We felt as if like students don't understand, you know, Zoom etiquette, because it's a real big thing. Because like nowadays, you're gonna be doing majority of your interviews through Zoom. Like everything is through Zoom, so we just want to make sure that they're taking the right steps to present themselves through Zoom. And another thing that we're working on was project-based courses. As Maxwell mentioned as well, like the biggest thing is that students want to be able to like actually engage within their major. So out of, you know, having big courses, and pretty much what that arises is we're just gonna have students doing things that relate more to their field than just being on class and just, you know, just sitting at home and just, oh, I'm just going through notes. We want to get them more engaged, you know, like maybe break them off into like groups, just having them do stuff that allows them to be more engaged. Because at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that they can learn, but also apply what they're learning into their major. And then so it's phase 1. So And then now when it comes to phase 2, we want to take a different approach, because phase 1, we just want to show the faculty like our point of view on how things have been going on. But now we want to go ahead and see like, what are the faculties going through, you know, like what are they going through, you know, because that's not really being asked right now. And that plays a huge role, because the faculty are, you know, the ones that are continue to show, they're the ones who are teaching us and just running everything. So we want to just tap in and see like what's their point of view on what's going on. And we feel as that this is huge, because they give us a lot of insight on student engagement, or just ways on how maybe they think the courses should not be. It's just a bunch of stuff. So that's what we're planning on doing for phase 2. And then hopefully after that, we're going to go ahead and create another proposal where, you know, they see our point of view and we're able to see their point of view. And then we're just going to go ahead and just create something cool, you know, to help out our students. But that's pretty much it for my Senator report. And if you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask.
Wonderful. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Senator Limo.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Next up, I have Senator Salim. Senator Salim? Okay. We're gonna go ahead and move on then to Senator Nelson.
Hi, everybody. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So right now, I'm in the process of building a survey that's going to be sent to all the off-campus students to gather data regarding property managers that are either really good at managing and working with their tenants, or ones that students have maybe had some issues with in the past. I'm working with Senator Abbasi and Senator Ruiz to move forward with this outreach and how to like act on our findings. We've talked about doing like a town hall style kind of meeting for students to air their concerns, and maybe like an educational program so that they can understand their rights as renters and tenants in the Mankato area. And then I'm also on the student allocations committee, so I'm excited for our day-long deliberations coming up here and the last couple round budget presentations that we get to hear on Fridays.
Wonderful. Are there any questions for Senator Nelson? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, seeing none. That is our senator reports for the day. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to vacancies. One vacant spot that is up for election today, and that is our off-campus position. We do have a candidate. Could our candidate unmute themselves and say something so that like come to the front of my screen?
Yes, here I am.
Awesome. So let me quickly go over this process with you. With all the vacancies we've had this year, I'm sure that everyone in the Zoom call can recite my little spiel here. But how it works is that you're going to get a 2-minute opening statement. And then following your opening statement, we're going to open the floor for questions, and senators have a chance to ask you things about your plans. And then after that, we'll go ahead and do a 1-minute closing statement. And then we'll move you into a breakout room while the senators discuss and then vote. So don't leave the meeting, we'll just have you in a separate part. And then we will bring you back, you know, the decision. Do you have any questions about that?
No.
Okay, wonderful. So then, when you're ready, if you could state your name and then go ahead and start your 2-minute opening statement.
So my name is Haji Habibullah Aziz Khan. I am an international student from Pakistan. I'm living off campus and I'm majoring in international relations. So I'm from a political family who has a long history in politics, and I have served in student councils in my high school, and in my final years I was the president of student council in my high school. After my high school, I represented my regional students on the national levels and the national student federations. So when I came here, I saw that the off-campus students have a lot of problems, from financial mismanagement to isolation to they were not involving in campus. So I thought that why not I represent their interest in the student government and take up their issues and represent their interest in the best possible way, so that the university and the student government can take the stand for them. So I believe that with my experience, with my background, and with my experience, which I have worked with different political parties and the student federations, I can bring I can raise their interest in the best possible way, and can help them in the best possible way, and attend to their needs and interests with my utmost effort, with the help of student government.
Thank you. So at this point, we're now going to go ahead and open up the floor for questions. Are there any questions? Senator Biggs.
Hi. So I'm just wondering, this is a huge usual issue that off-campus senator candidates bring up, is that they want to advocate better for off-campus students and involve them more on campus life. So what are some of your ideas?
One of my ideas is that one of the issues which really troubles me is that the people and the students living on campus are quite isolated from the campus life, and that's really troubles me, because whenever you are in university, the main purpose of studying in a university is that you interact with people, you communicate across the cultural divide. So I believe what I will do is that I will make a community representative different off-campus students, like different communities like Indian community or whatever they are communities. So I will interact with them and try to motivate them towards and tell them the incentives of introduce such activities, like so they can be the part of this campus involvement. That's all.
Thank you. Next I have Vice President Multari.
I just have a point of clarification. What year are you in, and what's your major?
I'm majoring in international relations, and I'm a freshman.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Are there any other questions? Senator El-Sadi.
So was the off-campus seat your first choice, or was it the just a clarification, was it our only vacancy?
I can say that it is our only vacancy, yes.
Okay. Like, was it your first option, or did you did you want to run for a different position?
Say that again, I cannot hear you.
So like, was the off-campus seat your first option, or did you want to apply for a different one, or is it because it's the only vacancy for you?
Yeah, it was my first option. I wanted to be a off-campus senator.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Senator Hawk.
So I was just wondering if you are aware that we have different RSOs present, which you're planning to collaborate with, or how you're planning to actually bring students closer being on campus, because we already have a lot of RSOs such as student events team or different departments that we have, like ISA, who are already collaborating with international students. I was just wondering how you are planning to do it as well.
So the thing is, there are a lot of departments which are collaborating with these international or the off-campus student, but the thing is they don't involve in campus activities. So I have some friends who are living off campus. They are here for 2 years or 3 years, and they have not even attended a single campus event. So that's a problem, that the student governments or whatever, they're interacted with them and collaborating with them, but they don't get involved on the campus. So there needs to be we need to devise a policy regardless of the department. So the student government must take stand on behalf of off-campus student, give them incentives and show them that how rewarding campus involvement can be.
Thank you. Senator Mendonça.
Hello. So with your various past experiences in different leadership type organizations, have you learned any skills that you think you'd be able to apply to this position to help you achieve your goals? And if so, how do you plan on applying them?
In my high school, I was the president of this sporting event. I was also part of student council in my high school, and I was the president of the student council in my final years. So during those years I introduced the policies that how I can best interact with students, how can I solve their problems, and the thing I understood was that the people and the students are too shy, or they were like they don't know that they don't have any department who they can interact with freely, or any other department that can collaborate with them without any prejudice or something like that. So what I will do is that as my major is international relations, and I aspire to be a diplomat. So what I want to do is that as I want to interact from across the culture divide, this will give me the first-hand knowledge of how, as a diplomat in the future, I will interact with people who are from different cultures. And now from my background or my past experiences, I will help them in a better way.
Thank you. Vice President Multari.
Student Government Classic, can you tell me your one strength and one weakness?
One strength and one weakness. I am a very determined person, a tough guy. And one weakness, I can be too sensitive sometimes, emotional perhaps.
Thank you. Let's see, Senator Hawk. Senator Hawk, did you have a follow-up? No? Okay. Senator Bigd.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I must have still had it up from before. I
Oh,
apologize.
okay. Sounds good. Are there any other questions then? Senator Novak.
I would just simply like to ask what your pronouns are.
He, I'm he. You can call me Kazi if you want.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we are gonna go ahead and move into your 1-minute closing statement. So whenever you are ready.
Yes, I'm ready. So after becoming a senator, and I hope I will be, that I will first of all raise the issue of these off-campus students who are living in off-campus accommodations. They don't have first-hand knowledge of how to interact with their university. Whenever they're living in off-campus accommodation, they don't know how to interact with their tenant or whatever gives them lease. They don't have that knowledge. So I want to make sure that the student government takes stand for each and every issue which the student with the off-campus students face, including their safety, including their making them aware of university, the problems they will face, and how the university and specifically how the student government will take stand for them.
Thank you. So with that, we're now gonna have President Trenny usually does it. If he can move him into a breakout room.
Don't leave. He's gone.
Okay, and our recording has stopped, so we're good to go. So we're now going to go ahead and enter a discussion period. Are there any points of discussion on the candidates? Senator Mendonça.
I'd just like to point out that he mentioned that he was a freshman, and with him stating quite a few of the issues as a off-campus student, I can already agree with quite a few of them. And him being a freshman, noticing these right away, I think that it really seems that he's got his eye on the ball. He's the fact that he's taking the stance to come here today and try to join the student government shows that he actually wants to do this. With his background, yes, he's had experience in doing this. I think with all that taking into account, I think that that would be enough said to vote for him.
Thank you. Novak.
I also like the fact that even though he's very new, he's like noticing these issues and wants to pursue them. However, I myself really like to vote based on how people attempt to tackle issues and like what their plans are and stuff. And just personally for me, it sounded like a lot of his plans and like how he wanted to do things were like he wanted to establish communities and stuff that already exist. And then he said that it was very important to him to get people on campus and interacting. But being as it's a COVID year, I don't know how well that would work out.
Thank you. Senator Nelson.
I agree with Senator Mendonça. I think it shows a lot of initiative that even though he's so young and he's so new to Mankato, he's still shooting for this off-campus spot, and he has really taken the time to understand some of the issues that are facing our off-campus students. And even if he doesn't have like perfectly squared away ideas of how he wants to go about it, I think the fact that sorry, my dog is being a mess. And I think it shows a lot that he could like come in and he has that drive and that passion. So if he had a little bit of guidance from committees or other senators or other members of student government, he could really take that passion and kind of drive home with some of his ideas, even if the execution of those ideas is a little bit different.
Thank you. Senator Flynn.
So I'm conflicted here. He knows what he's talking about, but the specific issues he had brought up that he was worried about international students facing, he used the phrase, what was it, financial mismanagement. International students have issues from financial mismanagement. I'm not sure what that is. I wonder if, and based upon his application, he had mentioned that this is the only opportunity left for him to get involved in campus. Those things combined make me a little worried that he's not so interested in student government, but rather the prestige of student government and what that would potentially look like on a resume or something. So I guess I'm conflicted as to whether to vote him or not.
Thank you. Senator Hawk.
I actually have worked with him before, so I know that he's addressing problems being here, and that at least even in the pandemic, he's realizing that people need to get more involved with it. But honestly, I wasn't really clear of if you want, there are so many resources already on campus for events and opportunities. I just wasn't really clear of if you wanted to create something new or if you wanted to work on the existing ones. And he has been here on campus for a while right now, at least for a year or year and a half that I have seen working with him. So I wasn't really sure if he wants to do something new or if he's just, and why he didn't actually apply for these before. And as Senator Flynn said, if he's actually here for just the prestigious student senate or here actually to do something.
Thank you. President Trenny.
I have confidence in him. I coming from someone that's only also been involved in student government. Yes, it's great to put on a resume, but what I love to do and what really makes you shine when you're in student government is what you do in the position, not that you have it. It's what you do in it. And I think as a freshman and any student, really, this is a learning opportunity. Being a senator is not high stakes in a sense. Like, you guys can work on whatever you guys want to work on. That is what's going to show. So I think allowing him to grow as a person and a leader in the student government is just fine for me. I have confidence. I think he'll do fine. We have a lot of training documents anyways that will give him insight on how to be a senator and what projects people in the past have done. So I think once he gets in his position and he really meets with you guys and the academic affairs coordinator and the off-campus coordinator or the student affairs coordinator, he'll learn the ropes and he'll find projects and stuff like that. I'll be voting for him and encourage everyone else to do it as well. I yield.
Senator Abbasi.
Thank you. So first of all, I would like to correct Senator Hawk that he is a freshman. He has not been here for a year, as he mentioned before. And second of all, I think he's a very strong candidate because he mentioned that he has been involved in the politics back from his home country. So I feel like that, and his ideas were. I liked his ideas very much, although there were some misconceptions, but I'm pretty sure that he has the potential to learn. And the fact that when I was about to join a student government, I was very worried about the fact that I get accepted because I'm a freshman. But there's a lot of potential I see in him that he'll learn, and he's a freshman as well, and I feel like he'll get along with me. I'm an off-campus senator as well, so yeah, I'm very positive about him. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Waltari.
I'm a little conflicted here, but like I'm leaning more towards voting for him. The only thing that is like making me change my decision would be the fact him being a freshman and he's saying he saw the issues already. I'm not sure how long has he been here for, but like right away he mentioned issues, and I do understand that he wasn't completely knowledgeable about the topics, but at the same time, are we looking for someone who needs to be really knowledgeable, or are we looking for someone who's new but wants to learn? So that's why I'm like more inclined towards that he is willing to learn. If fellow off-campus senators would guide him to the right direction, it would be a really good idea. And that is something which is making me feel like, yeah, we should vote for him and give him a chance. So I might be voting for him.
Thank you. Senator Gabbard.
Yeah, I would just say that I think what we do need is someone who is willing to learn. And as a freshman, I was not student senate as a freshman. I was out doing, whatever, So I think it shows a lot of initiative that he wants to get involved right now. So, and he's an international student too. I always love their perspective. I think that we can, and I think that we can, show him the ropes, and I think that he can live up to his role. So yeah.
Thank you. Before I call on the next speaker, I'm noticing a lot of previous speakers have their hands up, and so I just don't know if you guys have follow-up questions or if that's just from before. So if you guys could take a second and...
Yeah, I think it's from before because...
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Perfect. Let's see. So next I have Senator Pham.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to piggyback some other people comment on him because I think he do have the good initiative and willing to learn, and he do have many experience before. So I think he will be a strong candidate for us too. Are you?
Excellent. Senator Hawk, would you be able to speak that comments that we have a record of it?
Yeah, I just realized I should actually raise my hand. So I was just saying that I have seen him before and worked with him. But yeah, it's really good that being a freshman, he realized that students really need to be involved on campus to actually enjoy the college life. And I'm not saying he's a weak candidate, but so that others can actually help him know more resources. And actually seeing that him living off campus, he doesn't he might not have known about those resources. It's actually very important for us to take that into account as well, so that we can let other people know of those. Maybe not making it mandatory, but at least reaching out to those and seeing why they don't want to be involved. And if they want something like that, it's good to see someone taking initiative of that, and that making it not only about academic or something good for the campus, but also for people enjoying their lives on campus. It's very important, because I would say we can see sororities here, we can see student events team here having so much fun, and it's actually very important having off-campus students realize that, and that they can be involved even though they are internationals or they're living off campus, and that they're humbly welcome and with open arms for any event anywhere on campus. And I'm really glad that a student stood up for that and that he's actually working for it. I would personally vote for him, even though he has maybe not realized it yet, but his initiative means a lot to at least me, because if he has questions of events and if he wants himself to be involved, there might be other students like him who don't really know of these events or opportunities. So I would personally be voting for him.
Thank you. Senator Biggs.
Call the question.
Is there a second?
Second for me.
Okay. Is there any dissent? I do still have speakers on the speakers list. Is there any dissent to calling to question? If you're dissent, if you just want to give a verbal dissent.
Yes.
Okay. So now we have two calls for a division of the House. We have to move to vote on that. I'm gonna drop in a poll quick for you guys to vote. Okay, so go ahead and fill this out, and then that way we'll see if we've met the threshold to move the previous question.
Can you explain what the two options are for people?
Yep, so what you're doing here is just to make it a little bit easier since we're on Zoom. If you are dissenting to move previous question, that means that you would like to continue and continue having the discussion on this candidate. If you are moving previous question, then you're ready to vote. Robert's rule says that we need a 2/3 majority to.
I'm sorry, could you repeat, could you explain again options? Because
Yep. Yep, so if you're in favor of moving previous question, then you would be, you're saying that you're ready to vote on this candidate and stop discussing. If you dissent to moving previous question, it means that you are not in favor of voting right now and you want to keep the discussion period going. So I'm still missing quite a bit of responses. I need everyone to get those in. So I'm missing 3 votes right now. Three votes. Okay. We're at a really tight margin, so that's why if you haven't voted yet, please get your vote in. Okay. This motion does fail, and we are going to continue discussing. So next on my list, I have Senator Flynn.
Okay, so I hear everyone saying the whole willing to learn thing. Personally, I'm not convinced of that because of a statement he had made, saying he's a political family with a long history in politics. And that gives me just a little bit of pause that was brought up, and he talks about being Senate and other things back where he's from, which, okay, good. But I'm a little worried that he might not be willing to learn stuff about how our Senate works. I guess that's just the way I'm going to put it.
Thank you. Next up, I have Vice President Multari.
I actually did not have anything, but
Okay, I had you on from before, but that's fine.
sorry.
No, all good. President Trenny, I also had you on the list before. Would you like to speak? No? Okay. Let's see. Senator Novak.
Yeah, I would just say that overall, I feel like
Kind of heavy.
Vice President Multari, you're not muted.
we've kind of shifted the goalpost away from assessing the candidate and more so kind of talked about this idea of like the ability to learn and treating Senate as an opportunity for people to learn and get leadership experience, where I think that it would be very beneficial for us to all vote based on whether we think that the candidate would actually make an improvement to the school or not. And I'm not saying that as a way to endorse or not endorse the candidate.
Thank you. Senator El-Sadi.
I'm not gonna lie, Senator Novak kind of convinced me, but going to say before that he does look like a good candidate due to the family political experience, and he had good public speaking skills, and he looks motivated. So and he plus his major is international relations, so I think it should be like, I don't know, mutual gain for him and for the Senate. I think he's going to present ideas, and he's definitely going to gain a lot of experience in the Senate. So I definitely will be voting for him though.
Thank you. President Trenny.
Again, one, he was the only candidate that applied, and that shouldn't base your judgment, but is like the involvement opportunities on campus this year in particular, because of we're in COVID, is very slim. And yes, he put that in his application of why he wants to be in it. But like I said, I'm only involved in student government, and that's fine for me, and that should be fine for him. I also think he will be a beneficial thing for Senate, because not only is an empty chair not beneficial, but another voice to Senate will always be a benefit no matter what. Like I said, many people, the only person I know returning from last year was one senator. So everyone here had to learn, and everyone here had to grow in their ability. So I don't think we should hold that against anyone. I think he's going to be great. We took, I was here, when I became a senator, I was only here for a month at this university. So people are taking chances on people, and I think we should take chance on him. What if a month from now or whatever, at the end of the year, when we're looking back and we say, wow, he was a great senator. And I hope that, right? I always give positive comments to everyone because I truly think they're going to be good. There's a reason he came forward, and the reason he's running is he wants to make a better community. I don't think anyone around this room is only here just for themselves. So I think we need to look at it and see, is he going to do good? And I think he's going to learn really well from not only you guys from being experienced senators, but really from what we've done in the past and how he can help us in the future. So I'll be voting for him, and I encourage everyone else to do it as well.
Thank you. Senator Vondra.
Yes, I just want to actually piggyback on two previous things that were said. Kind of parroting Senator Novak and President Trenny. We need to think and vote and vote on whether or not he is qualified, if we personally think he's qualified, and not just to fill a Senate seat. And additionally, we're in February and there's not much left of this. I mean, there is quite a bit of this semester left, but is that going to be enough time for him to really get a grasp of being a senator? Because we all had plenty of time and he doesn't have much considered. He has less than half.
Thank you. Senator Biggs.
I just want to encourage everyone, not only for this candidate, but moving forward, that we are looking at their application along with how they're answering questions. I think when people get in front of people, maybe they say some things. I don't think we need to be reading into some of the things that he is saying as much. I think he's qualified. I think he's excited to be here and he's putting himself out there. And so I'll be voting in favor for him, and just want us to be reminded of that moving forward, of why we're here.
Thank you. Let's see. Senator El-Sadi, did you have a follow-up? No? Okay. Senator Gabbard, you raise your hand. Do you have a speaking point?
Call to question.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
President Multari seconds. Is there any dissent? Please use vocal dissent because some people type up. Is there any dissent? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, I assume unanimous consent, and we are going to go ahead and move previous question. So at this point, I am going to drop the poll in there for you guys to vote on. Because we have some new senators to explain, so you're going to have three options. The first option is his last name. The second option is no confidence. That means you're not in favor of voting for this candidate. And the third option says abstain. Abstain is primarily used, an abstention is primarily used for if you have like a moral conflict against voting or feel unqualified or something like that. But that's not, it's not just, the goal of why you're here is to vote. And so pending circumstance where you wouldn't be able to do that, I encourage you to place your vote. So here's the poll, and we'll wait for those answers to come in. Okay, the votes are in. Could we have our candidate brought back and the recording started again?
He is back.
And the recording is back on. Okay. So congratulations. We have had an election today. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and swear you in. So if you could take yourself off mute, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. Okay. I state your name.
I, Qazi Habibullah,
Will represent and serve.
will represent
And serve.
and serve
The students of Minnesota State.
the students of Minnesota State
University Mankato.
University Mankato
In student life and academic need.
and in student life and academic need,
And will uphold the mission.
and will uphold the mission,
Constitution and bylaws.
Constitution and bylaws
Of the student government.
of the student government.
I so affirm.
I so affirm.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And with this, that means that we officially have a full Senate. So that's exciting. Haven't had that in a while. Perfect timing into budget season. So we are glad to have you a part of our team.
Thank you so much for putting your trust in me. I'll live by your expectations and my off-campus constituents.
Wonderful. Thank you. So next on our agenda, we have no new business, we have no old business, so we are going to go ahead and move on to announcements. Are there any announcements? Any announcements? Any announcements? Any announcements? Okay.
I have one. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, John.
I was in the middle of messaging somebody. Sorry about that. Good to see you all. Great meeting again. As you know, stuff really gets busy in the next few weeks with our budget cycle. So next week I will be presenting on what you can expect. The first groups to present their budget requests to you will do so on the 24th, so 2 weeks from today. And I don't have in front of me who those exactly are, but I'm guessing a couple, the CSU will be presenting, and maybe Tech, I'm not sure. I can't remember which other one. There'll be two of them presenting on the 24th. And then on March 3rd, you will have the Student Allocations Committee that will present the student activity fee budget to you. And then we'll have a couple of other key areas presenting after spring break. So we are going to get ready to get into busy season. So be ready for that. And next week, again, I will have a presentation for you about what to expect over the budget time. Beyond that, I will also be sharing a folder with you via OneDrive where we're going to store a lot of the documents. So my biggest piece of advice to you over the next few weeks is to be prepared. Okay, it's going to take some time outside of meetings to ask questions of fee areas and to do some research and to talk amongst yourselves, trying to make some decisions and ask questions and things like that. So the next month and a half are going to be critical, the most critical month and a half of your terms. And so being informed, being prepared, and asking when you have them is going to be critical. So we'll talk more about that next week. But again, I look forward to working on that with you. So
wonderful. Before any other announcements, I just want to echo what John is saying, and then also point out that as we move in to the budget, the actual big budget meeting, you will be limited in your amounts, your opportunities to speak per line item. And so to make best use of that, I encourage you to talk about it in committee, talk about it with other senators, go in with a game plan so that we can use our time efficiently and you get the opportunity to speak and be heard, and we can move through these and create a great budget. So make sure.
If I may make one other point as well.
Yes.
I think we talked about this, and that's what I was messaging President Trenny about to see if anybody had mentioned this. But at this point, you mentioned also that we have a full Senate. Going into the budget season, it's important to do that, and so that people can be prepared. I don't know how to say this in any other light way, but if you're having doubts about your ability the rest of the term, it would be well served for you to make that decision rather quickly so that we don't have to try to fill a Senate spot right before the budget meeting. Okay. And so hopefully at this point, if you're on the Senate, your intent is to serve through the remainder of the term and to stay committed to that. Otherwise, I think your leadership, the Senate would be well served to have you make that decision sooner rather than later, so that again, we're not filling a vacant seat at the budget meeting or the week before and having somebody have to come into that midstream. So that would be something that would be wise for you to consider at this point going into the remainder of the term.
Definitely. Also, just as a general point of reference, at the budget meeting, you're not allowed to have a proxy represent you. So you yourself need to be present and there for the entire duration of it in order to be able to vote on each of those line items. So do the work now to make sure that you're prepped for that big meeting. With that, are there any other announcements? Senator
about the definition of the word present, is it going to be a Zoom or a physical thing?
Zoom.
Okay.
President Trenny.
This is just to comment off of what Patrick just said, or Senator Flynn. We tentatively, and I'm talking to the other two, and they don't know I'm going to say this. We may do a hybrid meeting depending on, we're going to potentially poll you guys and see how many, if we were to do an in-person component, how many would come. And what I mean, if you're going to say you're going to come, you need to come, because sometimes last semester is just me, Kara, and Arnavi, and that's not fun for us. It's not fun for ITS. And if we were to do some sort of food event as well with that, we would want to know. So you might see that come through your email in a couple weeks, or a week or two from now. Once, executives, we talk about it and how we want to do it, but just look forward to that as well. But, if there is interest as well, express that to us, right? If you're going to come, if a lot of people are going to come in person, we will try to make it work.
So Senator Flynn, my answer is, I don't know. We'll see. But you'll be informed by the time we make that decision. Any other announcements? Any other announcements? Any other announcements? Any other announcements? Okay, we're gonna move on. Are there any objections to me waiving roll call today and just ending early? Any objections? Seeing none, I assume unanimous consent. We are going to waive roll call. I am officially adjourning this meeting at 5:57. Thank you everyone for your participation and for listening to the important information. See you next week.
Yeah.
See y'all next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I have to use the restroom so badly, so I need to go. I was about to call a recess. I was like, guys, we can't keep speaking. I need to go. So I'll talk to you guys later. Goodbye.
Bye.
And John, we didn't. It's just been me and Amber talking about the in-person hybrid component. But if and we've done one-on-ones with every senator, most every senator, and everyone's brought up they want to do some type of in-person sometime this semester. So
I don't blame them.
People want to do it. We'll do it.
Yep.
It'll work.
So just a couple of things for you in terms of what I've been messaging. So the surveying of the off-campus students, I've just shared with those three senators the results from the fall 19 survey that we did. So that was the last time we'd surveyed, and it had been the first time in over 5 years that we had surveyed off-campus students. So the results were pretty darn good, and we had a great return rate. I also reached out to Senator Ruiz because there was a post on Facebook that basically said, tell me your housing horror stories. And I don't know if you recall or know of the drama that we had a 2 years ago when an international student in particular posted some online reviews and some opinions that seemed to be factually false and defamatory, and they got sued. And so I would say I sent a message just saying, be careful. I mean, people can express opinions, but if there's stuff that's factually inaccurate and defamatory and results in financial damages, these properties won't be afraid to lawyer up and issue and sue. So that's one thing that we have to be careful about. So if we see stuff going down that road, so I've shared some thoughts and stuff, and so we'll see where that.
You know what happened with that lawsuit?
I'm not at liberty to discuss that.
Okay.
Yep. So.
Is there a way we can find it online?
I don't know.
Okay.
There was a judgment entered against the student. I can tell you that much. I just can't tell you further details.
Okay. Another thing is the survey that Kat Nelson's doing. Is it with you? Like, is it the same survey you're talking about, or is it a separate one?
She hasn't talked to me about a survey yet, so I don't know what she's wanting to go after. I just downloaded out during this meeting. She started talking about it, and I went to Qualtrics and downloaded all the results that we had. We had 411 response, which was huge for in terms of a response rate. So it was roughly, I think, in terms of who we sent it out to, about what did we get, about 8%, which is huge for an off-campus survey. So we've gotten less than that.
Number.
So I shared with her so she can see what we asked. about. Part of it was that they asked about safety, they asked about public transportation, and I needed some data in terms of what students used to determine where they were going to live. And so there were 3 prongs to the survey, and it met all of our needs. So I think that was really helpful to all of us. So.
And one more question is, so there's a project going on about something, Senator Ruiz's project. I want to talk to you about that one.
Okay.
But like, I'll just come to you and talk to you because like, I just want to hear about how bad can the consequences be or how good can the consequences be so that I am prepared with her. Yep. Because I've been assisting her with it till this time, and I can like just tell her to stop if it's needed to be stopped, you know.
The biggest thing is you want to be sure, and I suggested to her you just open a complaint desk that's in a very public forum. What you want to do is you want to the point of the survey, right, is to ask questions that can inform senators about things they can work on, right? That's the point. There's a way to do that without doing it in a hugely public forum. The public forum nature of that is what makes it dangerous. Because if there's stuff that's factually inaccurate that gets out there, that's what they go after.
That makes sense.
So
yeah.
I think the surveys are the way to go.
Moore with the escape, 2-1's the lead here. Just 9 seconds of riding time for Rathman.